Vietnam boasts one of Asia's fastest growing economies. On their way to work, many people in Ho Chi Minh City stop for breakfast at a street stall like this one. The owner prepares an order. A pack of instant noodles. It takes only 3 minutes to prepare the dish. And it costs as little as $1.50. The instant meal is now a staple of the Vietnamese people.
Oh, delicious.
It's very convenient, and the noodles taste great.
Vietnam's consumption of instant noodles tops 5 billion servings a year. Almost all instant noodles are manufactured the same way.
For 50 years since our company was founded, we've been deep frying our noodles.
Called the flash frying method, deep frying the noodles removes moisture for better preservation and reconstitution. This innovative technique has transcended Japan's borders to become a global standard. Today, sales of instant noodles exceed 100 billion portions a year around the world. It all started in 1958 with the introduction of the first instant noodles in Japan under the name chicken ramen. The notion that noodles could be prepared by simply pouring hot water over them took everyone by surprise. A new type of fast food was born. Little did the company know this simple product had marked the beginning of a lasting legacy. The little company with the big idea was Nissin Foods. Since then, Nissin has continued developing new recipes and flavors. One of its most distinctive products is cup noodles, sold in more than 80 countries and territories. They're the closest to fresh noodles instant noodles can get. Also, Nissin went one step further, taking instant noodles into space. The company says it developed a soup that can be eaten in zero gravity. Now that the sky is literally no longer the limit, how much further can instant noodles evolve?
Ultimately, we're trying to develop noodles that no longer require hot water. Any water will do. We're quite close to achieving this. For 55 years, we've been driving the technology behind instant noodles. But I'd say we're only halfway there. We still have a long way to go.
On this edition of J-Tech, we uncover the secrets behind a technology that's turned a modest kitchen staple into the world's favorite comfort food. Hello and welcome to the program. What is your favorite comfort food? For millions of people around the world, that would be instant noodles. They're probably one of the first instant foods ever to be mass-produced. When they were first introduced back in 1958, people were mesmerized by the fact that you could prepare a meal in just under 3 minutes by simply pouring hot water over some dried noodles. They called them magic noodles. Chicken noodle soup was the first variety of instant noodles ever to be produced. Today, 100 billion servings of instant noodles are consumed each year by people all around the world. Join me now as we discover the magic behind the product, who invented instant noodles, how they're made, and how the first company to make them has turned this modest staple of the Japanese diet into a global phenomenon. Nissin operates 8 factories in Japan and 42 others across the world. The company is Japan's #1 instant noodle maker, with a 50% market share in the country and a 15% share of the world market, with global annual sales reaching $4.6 billion. Greeting visitors at Nissin's headquarters in Tokyo is a statue of the company's founder, Momofuku Ando, the inventor of instant noodles. Ando was born in Taiwan in 1910 and raised by his grandparents at a time when the island was under Japanese rule. A budding entrepreneur, he started a clothing business at the age of 22. Emboldened by his success, he moved to Osaka in Japan and founded a trading company. Near the end of World War II, Ando lost everything. His company, warehouse, and personal belongings were all destroyed in the American fire bombings of Osaka. Hunger was a major problem in post-war Japan. The sight of people scraping for food had a major impact on Ando's business philosophy.
I realized that food is the most important thing. People can't survive without it. The world is peaceful only when everyone has enough to eat. Everything starts with food.
Ando resolved to change course and enter the food industry. He set out to manufacture salt and nutritional products. But this industry proved to be too competitive, and Ando fell short of success. Somehow, he managed to land as the chair of a credit union until 1957, when it went bankrupt. Once again, at the age of 47, Ando found himself penniless. Refusing to give up, he found inspiration in a scene he remembered in the streets of Osaka in the days after the war.
Among the ruins, there was a noodle stand. I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful if whole families could have noodles whenever they needed?
Ando built a makeshift laboratory in his backyard. This is where he started work on developing instant noodles. He bought a used noodle-making machine, a Chinese wok, some flour, and cooking oil. His idea was to produce a noodle dish that would be ready in minutes with just a little hot water. Day in and day out, Ando locked himself up in that shed and worked at developing a method from scratch. Ando's second son, Koki, is now CEO of Nissin Foods Holdings. He was only 10 years old at the time, but he vividly remembers his father's obsession.
I'd go to sleep at night, and when I'd wake up in the morning, my father would still be holed up in the shed. He was obsessed with finding a way to make instant noodles. He soaked them in soup, but the noodles would break up, and he'd start all over again. Every day he'd be looking at this mountain of discarded noodles. He went on and on. It was fun to watch our dad stubbornly pursuing this ideal.
There are two conditions for noodles to be instant. First, all the moisture in them needs to be removed so they can be preserved. Secondly, they have to reconstitute within a few minutes after dipping them in hot water. Ando was stumped, but determined to find a solution. One day, he stumbled upon an idea as he watched his wife Masako preparing dinner. Tempura is a Japanese dish of battered and deep-fried vegetables and seafood. The clue was in the batter.
Tempura batter contains a lot of moisture. When you dip it in hot oil, it immediately starts bubbling. The oil pushes out the water, and the batter ends up crisp and full of holes.
Ando understood that it was the oil expelling the moisture from inside the ingredients that caused the little crispy bubbles to form in the cooked batter. It was a kind of drying process. He experimented with noodles. The hot oil completely removed the moisture. This is a cross-section of a fried and dried noodle. The inside is porous. Herein lies the secret of the instant noodle. When frying the noodle, the moisture in the dough is vaporized. Like the tempura, tiny holes form in the noodle. When hot water is poured over the noodles, it penetrates the pores, moistening the dried dough and giving back the noodles their tender texture. And that's how Momofuku Ando invented the flash frying method, which would be copied the world over. What Ando needed now was a seasoning. Convinced that the Asian taste of soy sauce wouldn't go over well with consumers in the West, he decided on the universal appeal of chicken soup. After 1 year of hard noodling in his backyard shed, Ando created his first successful recipe in 1958. 2 minutes after pouring hot water over the noodles, he removed the lid, and voila! Tasty hot noodles ready to eat. Ando called his recipe chicken ramen, priced at 10 cents. Convinced he was sitting on a pot of gold, Ando approached several wholesalers, but the encounters fell short of his expectations. The wholesalers thought 10 cents was too expensive. After all, it was 6 times the price of a standard serving of fresh noodles. So Ando tried to drum up interest by organizing tasting events across the city. Consumers were convinced and bought the samples. Within a year, Ando built his first factory and started producing 100,000 packs a day. In the early 60s, Japan's economy was starting to boom. Sales of instant chicken ramen noodles soared with the advent of this TV commercial. Today, chicken ramen is still a popular item at supermarkets throughout the country. At this store, they sell for about $1 a pack. On this day, a promotional campaign is being held. Chicken ramen is a hit. especially with the kids. This couple enjoys the noodles as much today as when chicken ramen first went on sale 55 years ago.
I miss this taste. I love this trademark. I've been eating this since I was a child.
Chicken ramen is a favorite among people of all ages. In 1971, Nissin Foods took its innovative prowess to the next level and created cup noodles, instant noodles in a polystyrene cup. The idea sprouted in Ando's mind in 1966 while on a promotional trip to the United States. If noodles could be eaten anywhere, anytime, you needed readily available bowls called donburi in Japan. But bowls full of soup aren't so practical to carry around. Ando found that in the United States, people were putting instant noodles in a cup. He realized that if his products were going to appeal to people in the West, this is how they had to be served.
At the time, we were thinking of selling our noodles in a bowl. If I'd been the president then, I would have launched it under the name Chicken Ramen Donburi. But our founder saw things differently. He thought eating noodles in a bowl was unstylish. He wanted a vertical cup that would allow people to eat, even while walking, if they wanted to. That's how the first cup noodles came to be.
5 years after Ando's fateful trip to the United States, Nissin started making cup noodles with a target production of 200,000 servings per day. Ando had cleverly figured out not only how to put the flavor into the noodles, but also how to put the noodles into a cup. A cross-section shows the noodles wedged in the central part of the cup. This contributes to making the cup stronger for shipping and room for the noodles to expand evenly when hot water is poured in. It's a simple idea, but it wasn't so easy to achieve. Manufacturing equipment at the time was clumsy in placing the dried noodles neatly inside the cup. Momofuku Ando turned the problem on its head and devised a way of wrapping the cup around the noodles. With a little thinking outside the box, mass production of cup noodles became a reality. Nissin's consumer target was young adults. The company organized tasting events in the heart of Tokyo's fashion district, Ginza. Its strategy of marketing cup noodles as a mobile meal made instant noodles an instant hit, with street sales topping 20,000 servings a day. Then, in February 1972, Nissin received an unexpected endorsement that would further galvanize the product brand. During a hostage crisis in the mountains of Nagano, photos in a popular magazine showed policemen clutching cup noodles to stay warm. The images triggered a frenzy for cup noodles. Nissin inaugurated its first overseas factory in the United States in 1973. More factories soon followed in Brazil, Singapore, Hong Kong, and India. Today, cup noodles are available in 80 countries and territories. The city of Yokohama, south of Tokyo, is home to the Cup Noodles Museum. Here, visitors can experience firsthand how instant noodles are made.
Good morning.
Sakurai-san, good morning.
Welcome to the Cup Noodle Museum.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having
to
us
have
over
you.
today. It's wonderful. You know, it's such a wonderful space. Many families are taking advantage of the summer holidays to try their hand at making their own flash-fried instant chicken ramen.
So, Mark-san, we have a hand-on workshop.
Yes.
Are you ready?
I think I am. I'm dressed for it. Step number 1 is preparing the dough. All that's needed, no pun here, is flour, water, oil, seasoning, and a little elbow grease. The dough is then placed in a noodle maker that flattens it evenly and cuts it into thin strips.
It's beautiful. That is gorgeous. It's good from the bottom. Hi. Oh, beautiful.
My very first ramen noodles. I really enjoy the texture of the noodle, of the fresh noodle that we're making here, and it's really appetizing. Actually, I'm getting hungry. The noodles are then steamed and seasoned some more before the final step, flash frying. Now, the noodles are being put in the hot oil, and the oil is at what temperature?
160 degrees.
And they will stay in the oil for how long?
For 1 minute and a half.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
And so the water is being expelled in the cooking process here.
Right. So moisture level goes down drastically.
So this is how the noodles are actually dried.
Yes.
So the flash frying process that we're seeing here is drying out the noodles.
Yes. So that's a core technique Mr. Ando developed more than half a century ago.
A 90-second dip in the hot oil, and we're ready to celebrate the birth of JTAC's first batch of instant noodles. Although the technology behind instant noodles is relatively low-tech, manufacturing methods are evolving for one good reason: to appeal to the specific tastes of consumers around the world. Most people enjoy the taste of chicken soup, but not everyone likes the taste of soy sauce. A noodle isn't just a noodle anymore. The commercial success of instant noodles depends more and more on the axiom, think global, act local. Engineers at Nissin are pioneering the development of new varieties of noodle soup to satisfy the demands of consumers the world over. The company's product development teams are taking into account the local tastes of people from different cultures. Koki Ando is the CEO of Nissin Foods Holdings. He's the person who masterminded the company's expansion into overseas markets. It all began in the United States in 1972. His father, company founder Momofuku Ando, instructed him to devise a strategy that would turn cup noodles into a global product. At the time, Nissin's cup noodles only came in varieties devised for the Japanese palate.
Nowadays, soy sauce is widely used in the United States. But at the time, our varieties of pork, shrimp, and soy didn't appeal to American consumers. They preferred the taste of chicken soup. So Nissin created a product that tasted like chicken soup.
Nissin added more varieties of cup noodles specifically tailored to the tastes of American consumers, including beef, shrimp, and soy in a chicken-based broth. The products sold under the brand Cup Noodles.
At first, we intended to promote the same varieties we were selling in Japan. But every country has its preferences when it comes to taste. Trying to force our way into the market with our Japanese-style soy sauce noodles would have taken too much time. That's why we aimed for a homemade kind of taste. That was clearly our best option.
Nissin's global strategy is to develop flavors matched to the culinary cultures of each country. For example, this variety of instant chicken noodle soup sold in Brazil has extra salt. These noodles sold in the United States are shortened so that they can be eaten with a spoon. Designing these products takes years of careful marketing research. Many factors must be considered, including taste, texture, and the temperature of the broth. For example, Japanese people like their noodle soup at around 90 degrees Celsius. In China, it's closer to 95, while Europeans prefer their soup just below 80 degrees. Nissin currently operates 50 product development and manufacturing plants in 17 countries. Engineers at those plants have developed 1,200 different varieties of instant noodles that are sold worldwide.
Like Coca-Cola or McDonald's, we would like to bring the same kind of taste to people all around the world. But our products depend a lot on the local culinary cultures. In many cases, we're talking about traditions that evolved over 1,000 years. So we can't just market our noodles under the Japanese banner.
Nissin is now focusing its attention on the booming market of Vietnam. The Vietnamese are among the biggest consumers of noodles on the planet. One of their favorite staples is a soup called pho, which is made with rice noodles. It's such an important part of their daily lives, many eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Instant noodles are also popular. They're sold at food stalls for slightly less than the cost of a bowl of pho.
I just love it.
I eat them for breakfast.
On average, Vietnamese people eat instant noodles 57 times a year, or nearly 5 times a month. More than 300 varieties of instant noodles are available at markets for about 19 cents per serving. A growing number of households now depend on instant noodles. Like this family, for instance.
Okay, this is going to be your breakfast again.
Every morning, Mother prepares instant noodles for her 2 children.
Yummy!
Trang Thi Thuy is a working single mom. She says instant noodles are a precious commodity for raising her young children.
They're cheap and easy to eat. And they allow me to get to work on time.
Nissin entered the Vietnamese market in 2012. It inaugurated a state-of-the-art factory and a product development unit just 1 hour away from Ho Chi Minh City. The first products to roll out of the plant went on sale in July 2012. They are shrimp and chicken varieties, with the Nissin name big and bold on the package to distinguish it from other brands. A pack of these noodles costs 25 cents, slightly more than the competition. Nissin believes the better quality of its noodles deserves the higher price tag. But to appeal to the discerning consumer, Nissin's developing varieties of instant noodles that are not found on the Vietnamese market. That's where the company's decades-long experience comes in. This subsidiary of Nissin, based in Ho Chi Minh City, employs 100 people. 60-year-old Takashi Hirota is both the company's president and the man in charge of product development.
The market here is overrun with so many products. There's too much competition, so we felt we had to be different and create a new market. We aimed at developing a product that would drive demand for our noodles.
Vietnam boasts the world's 4th largest market for instant noodles. 5 billion servings are consumed every year across the country. The top maker, with a 58% market share, is another Japanese manufacturer that has been operating in Vietnam since 1993. In order to secure a foothold in this highly competitive environment, Nissin set its sights on a fast-developing segment of the Vietnamese market for more nutritionally balanced food products. People in Vietnam are growing more health-conscious. A sure sign are the long queues at exercise machines in city parks.
I'm exercising my legs because I want to get in better shape. But I'm also very careful with what I eat to stay in good health.
Vifon is a domestic instant noodle producer founded 50 years ago. In this factory, the company uses the same flash frying method developed by Momofuku Ando in 1958. Most of the instant noodles sold in Vietnam are made this way. But the noodles contain a lot of oil, which may not be considered healthy. So Nissin decided to develop a product that contains less oil than flash-fried noodles. The flash frying technique is effective for removing moisture, but the noodles absorb a lot of oil. Non-fried noodles, on the other hand, are dried more slowly, using hot air instead of hot oil. But instant noodles wouldn't taste right without the oil, so Hirota and his team had to be clever.
I can't tell you exactly how it's done because it's a corporate secret. But somewhere between cutting the noodles and drying them, we spray them with a fine mist of oil.
Spraying a small amount of oil helps to preserve the full flavor of fried noodles.
The great majority of people in Vietnam are used to fried noodles. Our product is non-fried, but if we don't bring the taste close enough to fried noodles, consumers won't buy it. That's why we added the mist air drying process.
Hirota had yet another challenge to overcome. The Vietnamese are fussy with their noodles. The texture has to be just right. Not too soft, not too firm. People here have a word for that.
Dai.
Cái gia vị đó vừa với cái cọng mì nó dai.
Cũng có dai, có dai. Mì gói cũng có dai.
I asked people about the exact meaning of yai, and I understood that it's a reference to the elastic texture of the noodles. I realized that we needed to get this right for Vietnamese consumers.
The noodles have to stretch like gum, but be easy to chew. This is different from Japanese noodles. In their efforts to satisfy consumers, Hirota and his team had to come up with an entirely new kind of noodle. They began by examining the combination of ingredients in the flour. Flour contains 6 to 15% protein. That protein is mostly composed of gluten and gliadin. Gluten is elastic but firm and doesn't stretch very well. The properties of gliadin, on the other hand, are the exact opposite. When water is added to the flour to make the dough, glutenin and gliadin combine to form gluten. The gluten is what gives the dough the right combination of elasticity and firmness. Hirota's team created a new recipe for the dough by adjusting the amounts of glutenin and gliadin. We decided to examine the properties of these special noodles. On the left is a pack of chicken ramen noodles sold in Japan. On the right, shrimp noodles for the Vietnamese market. The noodles are tested for their elasticity. We start with the standard Japanese noodle. It stretches 23 millimeters before breaking. Here's the same test using a Vietnamese noodle. It stretches beyond 23 millimeters and snaps at the 46 millimeter mark. That's double the elasticity of the Japanese noodle. Vietnamese noodles have to be that more elastic to be endorsed as yai. Months after the project was launched, the team delivered its new recipe for instant noodles.
They're different from Japanese noodles. I can really feel the yai factor.
Hirota needed to work out one more factor in his local strategy: the seasoning.
We can't afford under any circumstances to be out of step with the kind of flavors Vietnamese people are used to.
In his quest for Vietnam's home-cooked flavors, Hirota asked his staff to take him to some of the most popular eateries around town. This establishment serves a highly sought-after soup made with chicken bones. Hirota has ordered a bowl. He finds it very different from Japanese recipes.
It tastes sweet, maybe just a touch, but it's not that sweet.
The distinctive flavors and aromas of Vietnamese-style soups come from adding herbs and sugar. These herbs are not used in Japanese-style instant noodles.
Now the question is, what kind of herbs are the best match for chicken soup and in what quantities? Figuring out this balance was another challenge.
To solve this puzzle, Hirota decides to sample different herbs and seek the expert opinion of the women on his staff, who have a nose for a good-tasting soup. Hirota appoints Loan to lead the development team. Loan has chosen one specific herb for the broth.
In any chicken soup in Vietnam, you will always find rau ram.
Rau ram is a type of coriander with a unique flavor and spiciness. The Vietnamese love it. Loan recommends that it be used to make Nissin's new instant noodle soup.
Aroma is very important in Vietnam. I thought if we managed to make a package that, when you open it, fills the room with a wonderful aroma, people would appreciate it.
The result is a variety of instant noodle soup unmatched in the industry. Nissin has succeeded in developing a product that appeals to the Vietnamese people. The next step is to put the noodles on the market.
Everyone come over here. Please try out Nissin's non-fried noodles.
Every day, Nissin holds tasting events at markets throughout Ho Chi Minh City. Consumers are still unfamiliar with the brand, so Hirota and his team are anxious to see how they'll react to the product.
Yay! And the soup is just right.
Samples of the new instant noodles are passed out to shop attendants.
It's great. The soup is thick and the noodles are just right.
The tasting events are promising. Some people even fill their bags with packages of instant noodles. But others aren't familiar with the concept of non-fried products.
Non-fried noodles?
That's right.
I think I'll pass.
Nissin's efforts to enter the Vietnamese market seem to have paid off, but the company is determined to continue developing its presence in this booming economy.
I'm proud that we've managed to deliver a product that didn't exist in this country until now. If we continue pushing forward in this way, I think people in Vietnam will come to adopt our noodles.
The practice of conducting business according to both local and global considerations is called localization, and the people at Nissin are keen believers in the concept. Though noodle soup is a universal dish, its taste is not. It must be adapted to the needs of the local people. But tastes evolve too. More and more people are taking a liking to tastes that are not native to their own culture. For instance, you don't have to be Thai to enjoy Thai cuisine, nor does an Indonesian need to be Italian to like Italian food. So Nissin believes that Japanese people who are very particular about their food can acquire a taste for a noodle that was developed in Vietnam. The keys are freshness and nutritiousness. If the company can get the taste and nutritional value of instant noodles as close as possible to those of the fresh variety, it will have beaten the competition. July 2013. Nissin holds a promotional event in Tokyo.
Over the past 55 years, we've made great leaps in instant noodle technology, particularly in the field of non-fried products. We've come very close to replicating the taste and texture of fresh noodles.
Nissin unveils its latest variety of non-fried instant noodles developed for Japanese consumers. They're sold under the name Raol, meaning King of Noodles. Samples of the product are distributed to the attendants.
The texture is very smooth and firm. It doesn't taste like instant noodles.
The concept of the Rao line of products is to deliver a taste similar to noodles sold at restaurants.
Japanese consumers are extremely demanding when it comes to noodles. There are countless restaurants across every city, and competition is tough. But some restaurants manage to attract a huge number of customers. For us, it's extremely important to aim at developing a taste as close as possible to what these restaurants serve. We believe that if we succeed, we might be able to capture these customers.
To better understand the technology behind Nissin's latest product, we filmed the cooking process under a microscope. This is a cross-section of a noodle. When hot water is poured over it, the outer layer becomes soft, while the core remains firm. Rao noodles are composed of 3 layers. The composition of the flour used for the 2 outer layers is different from that in the central layer. The aim is to create different textures. The central layer is chewy, while the outer layers are silky. This level of complexity had never been achieved before in instant noodles. Shibuya Station is one of Tokyo's busiest transport hubs, with 820,000 commuters passing through it each day. On the platform is a noodle restaurant that serves as a marketing outlet for Nissin products. On this day, the restaurant is serving Rao.
Try our soy-flavored Rao for $2.50. Here you are.
Nissin hopes happy clients will share their impressions online.
I was really surprised. The noodles taste just like the ones at a regular ramen shop.
There's not so much of a difference with fresh noodles. I've been eating instant noodles since I was a kid. The evolution is amazing.
Nissin has succeeded in carving out a whole new playing field in the market for instant noodles. Now, with its latest triple-layered Rao brand, it's ready to take yet another leap forward.
We are working at adding different nutrients to the central layer. That would make our noodles healthier. This idea of turning noodles into a vehicle for highly nutritious food is a totally new concept. For 55 years, we've been driving the technology behind instant noodles. But I'd say we're only halfway there. We still have a long way to go.
I'd be very curious to see how the technology involved in making instant noodles will have evolved in 50 years from now. What is certain is that no matter how sophisticated it will have become, instant noodles will have to taste as good as Mom's homemade noodle soup. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on our next episode of J-Tech. Goodbye.